Coming up on show 651, GM's future electric truck plans, a new EV from BYD, and your answers to question of the week. And a bit more as well. Well, coming up on the show for Sunday, 24th of November. Lots of stuff going on. My name is Martyn Lee, going through every EV story that I can find to save you time so you don't have to go through all of this EV news. Well, good morning, good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for tuning in today. Recording and publishing this show a little bit later than actually doing it on Sunday. I am super behind. I've been spending the last couple of days over the weekend. I've been very busy decorating at home. Looks like I'll be taking a couple of weeks off of the podcast. Maybe I'll jump in and do a couple of shows here and there if there's big news and I get the time. But probably I'm about a week away, I reckon. And I'll be taking a little break for a couple of weeks. But back in time for Christmas. I'm sure there'll be a load of EV news over Christmas. Tongue firmly in cheek, by the way. But anyway, so it looks like I'm maybe about a week away. But we will see. And thank you for bearing with me. Your patience if I do have to take a little mini pause of the podcast. I'm not going very far, don't worry. Okay, let's kick off with... Oh, by the way, thank you so much to the team at myev.com. If you're in the USA, right, I assume you've checked out MyEV. If you're the one person that hasn't checked it out, have a look at myev.com. It's a platform, it's a place where buyers and sellers of EVs in your local area can connect and also learn about EVs along the way as well. Let's talk about GM's Electric Truck plans and when they're due as well. In an address to the Barclays 2019 Global Automotive Conference earlier this week, the GM CEO, she's Mary Barra, confirmed that the company's battery electric truck will arrive. It's going to come in autumn 2021. Not going to be soon. According to Green Car Reports, the announcement confirms a timeline that first emerged in a Reuters report last month, citing multiple sources familiar with the plans. Well, Barra also noted it's going to be a very capable truck. She said the GM electric truck will be the capable truck. And the company will share more in the not too distant future. So I'm afraid we can't talk about the specs or even see what it'll look like. Some of the same EV building blocks, she did explain, from their Chinese EVs will be turning up in full-size US market electric trucks. That will be an advantage to their strategy, they say, by focusing on a modularized skateboard global architecture. There you go. There's a buzzword for you, or several of them stitched together, for EVs and their batteries as well. What do you think about GM's plans? Let's move on. Staying in China, by the way, BYD. BYD stands for Build Your Dreams. BYD have introduced a new sedan, actually, a new saloon car for the Chinese market. It's called the E3. New saloon that will be an all-electric, pure electric, entry-level model later this year. Highly related if you've seen pictures of the E2, which has been on the market since September earlier this year. According to Inside EVs, BYD expanded their lineup earlier this year with 6 new plugins. Those include the Tang, the Song, the Max, and the E1, the S2, and the E2, and now the E3. So, what do you get for your BYD E3 saloon car? Well, you get 2 battery options. You can either have the Tiddler, which is 35.2 kilowatt hours, or the jumbo size, which is not quite jumbo, 47.3 kilowatt hours. Still nothing to worry the big boys of the EV market with their big 100 kilowatt hour batteries, but still, Chinese market, got to make it affordable. Single electric motor, 70 kilowatts. And because it's Chinese, they give the NEDC range, which is basically the what's the real world range and let's double it figure. Okay, again, tongue firmly in cheek. Sorry, it's late. I'm really tired. I got my cynical pants on today. But the NEDC range is 252 miles. Look, it's not nowhere near that. 35 or 47 kilowatt hour batteries could get you, I don't know, 150 miles. We'll see. If you want to find out more, I'll pop a link to Inside EVs in the show notes. Right, let's talk big, dirty diesel trucks. Because, in one way, if I have to find a silver lining for everything, and, I always try to look on the positive side of life and, try and see the positives in everything. On a Thursday night, both my wife and I will always forget to put the recycling and the waste out the bins, the wheelie bins at the end of our driveway. And so we're kind of lucky that our garbage truck lorry is such a loud, stinky, horrible diesel thing that we can hear it coming from a mile off, normally when we're asleep as well. And no, our windows aren't that bad, but it's just that darn noisy. Which normally means one of us gets out of bed and wheels our wheelie bin to the end of our driveway just in time. Otherwise, it fills up over a couple of weeks. And so, how will it go when the lorry's electric? Well, it just means that we'll have to put a reminder on the fridge on a Thursday night, won't it? Because in Holland, they're doing it already. The Dutch manufacturer DAF is now offering an electric truck with a 3-axle gross vehicle weight 28-ton spec, and the first ones are going to be refuse trucks used by the Dutch waste disposal companies HVC and Rover. According to Electrive, the drive has an output of 210 kilowatts, 2,000 newton meters of torque, and the gross energy content of the battery 170 kilowatt hours. Now, we don't know the range. They haven't exactly given us range figures for the new electric refuse trucks, but you know what? It doesn't really matter because trucks go back to the depot, certainly overnight, and some of them do for their lunch break as well. And so the boys and girls who have been working on them can have their lunch break. And so, for that reason, DAF have engineered a very fast charging battery for this. 30 minutes, I'll get you 80%. Well, if that is a usable net capacity of 150 kilowatt hours of the battery, that still means that the refuse truck is charging at 200 plus kilowatts speed. That's Tesla Supercharger V3 speed on a vehicle that probably never goes above about 15 miles an hour and is full of your wastes. In all seriousness, we do need to electrify exactly these kind of trucks. They do exactly the same route, week in, week out. It's entirely predictable. They know exactly how far, how often, and when they will be doing it. There's no reason all of these kind of vehicles shouldn't be electric as soon as possible. Now, Uber has been big news in the UK. Huge news, because TfL, Transport for London, has denied Uber the right to operate. They haven't renewed their licence. They're based on safety concerns and other things as well. Uber have appealed, or will appeal, and so Uber can continue trading in London. New analysis suggests that Uber and their peers are adding significantly to pollution in big European cities. Uber is adding more polluting car trips to already clogged European cities like London. Maybe not for much longer. And Paris. New analysis by European NGOs suggests contributing to air pollution and climate change and exploding the company's sustainability claims, reports Green Car Congress today. Data compiled by Euromonitor for the European research and campaign group T&E, Transport and Environment, shows a surge in the number of Uber drivers, private hire vehicles, in the past few years. Now, in France, back in 2015, they liberalised their taxi market, and the number of private hire vehicles doubled. It doubled in 3 years. The number of Uber drivers in London doubled in 3 years, went from 25,000 in 2016 to 45,000 last year, and it'll be more now, accounting for half of total private hire vehicle licence numbers. The analysis estimates that in London and Paris alone, two of the world's biggest cities alone, not biggest as in sheer population, but you know what I mean, the emissions of Uber alone, the emissions of Uber could be as high as 515 kilotons of CO2. That's more than a half of a megaton of CO2. It's the equivalent of taking 250,000 privately owned cars and adding them to the road. And if you're thinking, yeah, but don't all Uber drivers drive Priuses? Yeah. Kind of blows that theory out of the water that those kind of soft hybrids are some sort of environmental miracle. Yes, they have small batteries, and yes, they may pull away from the lights in silence, but they won't move forwards or backwards unless you put petrol inside them, even though they are magically self-charging. They do indeed burn fossil fuels, and no, they are not an environmental answer to taxis being on the roads. Now, there is definitely a divide of the people I know in London. There is And there's a group of people who don't want Uber, don't like Uber drivers. There is certainly younger graduate 20-somethings that I work with that think that they couldn't possibly live in London without Uber. It's cheaper, and that gets them where they want to go at their convenience. They haven't got to talk to anybody, haven't even got to look through the window of a black cab in London to say, hello mate, can I go to this location? Because all they have to do is do it on the app, get in the car, not make eye contact, and not talk to anybody, which does seem to be the MO of a few younger, not all younger people, of course. There are some incredible, brilliant graduates that I've worked with, but many of them, if you say, oh, can you pick up the phone and call this person, they sort of look with sheer terror and go, can I email them? No, please have a conversation. And so they are distraught that Uber could be leaving, and I'd never thought about the environmental impact of how many, 45,000 as of last year, private hire vehicles on the roads. Drivers, they could be sharing vehicles, I should add. And finally, the Porsche Taycan. I hadn't thought about the international side of it. You know, it charges very, very quickly on a CCS combo plug. The Porsche in Japan is hosting a launch event at the moment in Tokyo for the Taycan, according to Inside EVs, because, of course, in Japan, they use CHAdeMO. So I hadn't, China, they have a different plug socket. Japan, they loved their CHAdeMO plugs. Part of the event is demonstrating ABB's high-power fast chargers for the Taycan. The CHAdeMO output is exceeding 100 kilowatts. ABB has been selected to provide CHAdeMO chargers for Porsche in the Japanese market this spring. No CCS combo in Japan, no CCS plug. The plan for the future CHAdeMO chargers is to get the power output up to 150 kilowatts. Of course, that is still a lot slower. In Europe and North America, CCS going up to 270 kilowatts on the Taycan, potential for 350. That is a lot faster than using CHAdeMO, which the Japanese are absolutely wedded to and will not want to give up. And I should add, by the way, in terms of plug sockets, CHAdeMO and the Chinese protocol, GBT, GBT is the plug, they are working on a future charging interface. And so if the Chinese go with it, then CHAdeMO, people go, CHAdeMO's dead, CCS is the way forward. CHAdeMO will be the opposite. That'll be much bigger than the CCS plug. It'll just be used in different parts of the world than most people have visibility to. Okay, well, that was a digression. Let's talk about question of the week. And we were talking about the best way to market an EV. If you had a new EV company, how would you advertise it? Would you market it? Tom Raftery says it's easy. I'd get Jeremy Clarkson to advertise it by saying, if the car's any good, I'll eat my hat. And then Jeremy drives the car, loves it, and it cuts to him sitting down at a plate with a hat and some ketchup on it. Fade to black. Rajiv says, if I was marketing EVs, I'd focus on the sheer joy of driving one. Instant torque and great acceleration. Perhaps VW could bring back some of their Farfignugan commercials? I've never heard of those, but he says older listeners will remember them. I would focus on the markedly reduced cost of ownership. John Fruworth says, I would push the experience and show people in the TV ad doing things like charging at home, enjoying instant torque, having a quiet ride, and the simplicity of the drivetrain. Carl Kramer says, I'd take advantage of product placements and have EVs in the Fast and Furious movie franchise. That is brilliant, Carl. Yes, if you can get in there with the movie studios, that is a way of certainly attracting a crowd who think that cars need to make noise to be fun. Hello, Charlie. Charlie Fox says, one easy thought is to take those stupid Toyota commercials with the cobwebs on the EV chargers. Yes, we've all seen those. Toyota is the company that says, we choose not to plug in. They have TV ads, at least I've seen them on YouTube, where they have EV chargers covered in cobwebs as someone in one of their self-charging hybrids, they don't exist by the way, driving past looking all smug, probably heading to the petrol pump where they're paying about £1.30 for a litre of unleaded. He says, make the gas station a zombie apocalypse with the EV driver blowing by. The driver should be Simon Pegg, he says. No, I love it. I love it. And it's always nice to give it a little wave as you drive past a petrol station, isn't it, in your EV? And people are often queuing up and spending 40, 50, 60, 80, £100 on filling up their vehicle. It's nice to give the royal wave out of the window as you drive past in an EV. Dan from Canada says, to market EVs, I would suggest using humour or irreverent celebrity interviews to break through the monotony of car advertising. What about New Zealand's Prime Minister, and driving a Hyundai Ioniq picks up a US political comedian like Stephen Colbert from the airport with hilarity ensuing. I didn't make it up, he says. It's happened. See the YouTube video. All right, Dan, I'll put a link in the show notes. Brian Rodefer says if a manufacturer was serious about transitioning to EVs, they might consider incentivizing dealerships to provide EVs as loaner cars as a way of marketing them and encouraging driver education programs as student vehicles. Renee Schneider says this would be my take on question of the week, combined with Tesla's unveiling yesterday. Why you buy a truck? Because you want the feeling of being safer than a low regular car, and what would be more expressing of that feeling than outside steel, a bulletproof car for $39,900 US. Thank you, Renee. Good answers to question of the week this week, and so let's set you a brand new question of the week. And I think this is going to be an interesting one this week, set by myev.com. The controversial and, if we're honest, the botched launch of the Cybertruck is now the most Googled search term in Tesla's history. Whatever you think about the launch, about the smashed windows, there is no doubt the world is talking about Tesla's Cybertruck and electric vehicles. But here is your question of the week. Did the Cybertruck launch help or hinder the wider movement to EVs? Did the Cybertruck launch help or hinder the wider movement to EVs? In other words, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, for those that are cynical or anti-EV, did it just simply harden their views of being anti-EV, seeing windows smashing and using the truck to tow a Ford F-150 backwards? Did it pit people against each other more than it brought them together? I guess is what I'm asking. Did it help or hinder? Let me know your thoughts, and I'm going to read it out on Sunday's show next week. You can email me hello@evnewsdaily.com. Well, thank you to 251 patrons of the podcast. You are so generous. My premium partners, Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Avid Technology, Brad Crosby. I mention you every show. Thank you. My partners, David Allen. Thank you, David. OEM Audio of New Zealand and evpower.co.nz. Yes, if you're getting your accessories. Paul O'Connor, thank you, Paul. TryEV.com are still on Crowdcube and heading towards their funding target at TryEV.com. Gareth Hamer, hello Gareth, and we want to get them on the show soon as well. eMobility Norway, you can check them out at eMobilityNorway.com. And I love to mention all the executive producers once a week. I know it's a long list, and you can hit plus 30 seconds on your podcast app if you don't want to hear these names, but I do want to. It's my way of saying thank you. Alan Robson, Alan Shedd, Alex Banahini, Alexander Frank, Anders Hove, Ashley Hill, Björn Fuchstack, Barry Penniston, Brent Kingsford, Brian Thompson, Brian Weatherall, Bruce Bohannon, Cesar Trujillo, Charles Hall, Chris Hopkins, Colin Hennessy, Craig Coles, Craig Cooper, Craig Rogers, Damien Davies, Dan Fairs, Darren Bird, Darren Santon, Yorkshire EVs, Dave Jewson, David Barkman, David Finch, David Partington, David Prescott, and Derek Riley at theeffect.net. Thank you for your email this week. Recently, Derek. I will get back to you. Sorry, I've been rubbish. Dirk Rutsatz, Don McAllister of Screencasts Online fame. Enrico Stefan Schillo, Frederick Rovick, Free Jewel, Who's James, Gene Rubin, Jeff Lowe, Ian Griffiths, Ian Sear, Jack Oakley, James Storr, Jeff Irbies, Jerry Allison, Jim Morris, John Bailey, John Lacey from Click Like Video NZ, John, who is Beardy McBeardface at Ken TVs, John Lodell, Juan Gonzalez, Ken Morris, Kevin Mayerson, Carl Mann, Lars Dallinger, Lawrence D. Allen, Lee Brown, Luke Cully, Marcel Lohman, Marcel Ward, Mark Bossett, Marlon Shell, Martin Croft, Matt Piccioni, Matthew Ellis, and Maz Shah. Mia Oppelstrup, Michael Pastroni, Michael Cuffin, Mike Rogers, Mike Winter, Nathan Gore-Brown, Neil E. Roberts and Sussex EVs, Northern Explorers, Ohan Aston, Paul Ridings, Paul Shelley, Paul Stevenson, Perry Simpkins, Pete Glass, Pete Gorton, Peter and D. Roberts at Oxon EVs, Phil Mouchet, Pontus Kindblad, Rajiv Nare and Ralph Janssen, Renee Schneider, Rob Cooling at appledriving.co.uk, Rob Hermans, Robert Grace, Robin Tanner, Rupert Mitchell, Sabby the Cat, Sari Kangasoja, Seiki Payne, Steve John, Stuart Hanna, the Limousine Line in Sydney, the Plug Seeker, and his EV YouTube channel, Tim Gutteridge, William Langhorne, and Zach Hurst. Well, there are 650 previous shows online. Get the new ones, though, before anybody else by being a subscriber. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you soon. Remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.